I thought we were done with the AJ stuff for a while, to be quite honest with you. I figured the next time we would talk about AJ would be the time that he got traded or whatever the hell happened. But I woke up this morning and Jack had texted me that the AJ Brown podcast with Julian Edelman and Gronk had come out.
Dudes
today.
on dudes.
Dudes on dudes. That's what it's called. So I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, okay, here's this podcast we've been waiting for. And what I do with these podcasts is before I listen to them, I usually read the transcript. So I went and I read through it real quick.
That's a normal way that people listen to podcasts.
Well, I'm a psychopath. But I went through it and I was like, hey, there's just really nothing in here. I wonder we're probably not going to talk about anything. So I went and then I decided to actually listen to it on my walk this morning. So here is the headline. The headline is like, this is over. The A.J. Brown thing in Philadelphia with the Eagles is over. They have to trade him. If you thought at any point that they could talk him into it and mend fences and maybe this and maybe that, it is not. It is over. And here's what I realized while I was actually listening to it. So, and by the way, this podcast happened at the Super Bowl, the week of the Super Bowl. So that's where they were. For context, they were in San Francisco the week before the Super Bowl. So I'm 10 minutes in, and AJ has not mentioned the Eagles at all. They haven't asked him about the Eagles. He didn't mention the Eagles. 10 minutes in at the Super Bowl, which he won the year before, in the, no questions about the Eagles or anything, doesn't mention the Eagles. Now, he did talk about how much he likes Mike Vrabel. He did talk about how helpful Mike Vrabel was in his career. And he did talk about how he was cheering for Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl. So then we're 20 minutes in, and A.J. Brown had not mentioned the Eagles. Then we're 30 minutes in, and A.J. Brown had not mentioned the Eagles. No questions about the Eagles, no nothing, no Eagles. 42 minutes of A.J. Brown on this podcast with Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski, and he doesn't really mention the Eagles once. He is rubbing their noses in it. Like, he does not want to be here. It is time to go. Any dream of mending fences, it is over. I want you to think about how insane this is. Imagine if Jamar Chase went on a podcast with two other former football players and for 45 minutes did not mention Joe Burrow or the Bengals.
It seems almost impossible to even do.
It would be crazy, right?
Yeah.
Imagine Stephon Diggs goes on a podcast and does not mention the Patriots or Drake May.
Yeah.
For 40, it's crazy, but it actually happened. Like, what are we doing here? He is on the Eagles and does not talk about the Eagles. Like, he wants to leave. He doesn't have any interest in mending fences. He wants to be gone. And there were two moments that really stuck out, because mostly he's talking about the guy played on the Falcons, was on the Eagles. Julio Jones. That was his idol. Blah,
we
blah,
haven't
blah.
seen Julio since he was on the ground in Tampa Bay.
Right. So here is one opportunity that he had to talk about the Eagles. They just asked him a pretty innocuous question, which seemed to me to be focused on what happened this year with the team. Go ahead, Jack.
Now, what's the biggest takeaway of this season for you guys?
Straight
Putting
in.
you on the spot.
Or but it could be the NFL, could be
Anything.
What's the biggest
You're
takeaway coming into this game?
Coming into this game, just staying focused.
What? Like, is that the craziest thing you ever heard? That what is your takeaway from this season? And he just does not want to talk about the team, and they throw him a lifeline to talk about the NFL. And then there's
And he
this.
still came up with a bad answer.
With nothing.
Yeah.
And
Focus. What does that mean?
Really, it's just the complete, right? Nothing.
It was like when the morning show asked Kelsey.
Yes. What was your favorite moment of this show? So then later on, there's this moment. Now, of course, Julian Edelman was on the Patriots. Rob Gronkowski was on the Patriots. They talk extensively about how A.J. Brown became a Patriots fan, why he likes the Patriots. They also asked him, who is the most famous person in your phone? And he said Tom Brady.
Wow.
Also a Patriot. So then this moment happened.
Man, it's been really fun to sit here and get to chop it up with you, bro. And just remember, we're all Patriots. You know that, right?
Are you going to be a Patriot? Are you going to be a Patriot? Do you want to be a Patriot?
I'm trolling.
He winked. Like, it's just, like, it's funny, but it's not. It's just.
Well, it's not funny to us.
Yeah, it's just, it's over.
We're laughing, but it's not funny.
It's over. This is not like when Slay went on Micah Parsons' podcast the day after the game or whatever. This is a different thing with a different context. And this is how can you go 40 minutes and not talk about your own team?
Yeah.
Or not talk about your own quarterback, not talk about your own head coach, talk about how much you like Meg Vrabel. You don't also say, hey, by the way, and even the opening question, what was the lesson you learned from this year? Nothing.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to talk about the team. What team?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
it's crazy.
I completely agree. It's almost as if he was deliberately avoiding saying anything
about the team that he's on.
And if I got to work through so much stuff here with this with this thing, because what you're saying is we need to come to grips with the idea or the reality that A.J. Brown doesn't want to be here.
Right.
And wants to move on.
Yes.
I know he has said how much Philly is his home, and he said that in the other interview he did a couple weeks ago. And even that, I would have liked to have seen more of a sort of committed reaction to him being here, moving forward, looking forward to the new offense, those sorts of things. But in this podcast, it was almost like he got lost in his fandom of being a Patriots fan.
Yes.
Right? And the thing that gets me is the wink at the end, and then he realizes what he had just done, and it immediately said he was just trolling. Well, who are you trolling? Like who are you trolling? Your Eagles fans?
Your teammates?
Your teammates?
The organization?
Yeah. Like who are you trolling with this? Because he has to know people will see this interview, see how happy he is in the interview. By the way, didn't see that happiness all year with the team.
Right, yeah.
With the team. But he's being more than candid in this interview, sitting around the fellas, and we know he's a big Patriots fan. He's smart enough to know what this will look like to fans back here in Philadelphia. He's smart enough to know that. And so I'm just wondering, what is his end game here? And I can't help but as much as you may not want to face it, and let me just say this. Ultimately, it's up to the Eagles to trade A.J. Brown. So they're going to have to do it and feel like they're getting something in return that's worth his value.
Sure.
But if I'm just going off of A.J. Brown and him being an Eagle and wanting to be an Eagle moving forward and excited about being an Eagle moving forward and looking forward to winning championships with the Eagles, it's not the vibe I've gotten from A.J. Brown. Real quick.
No, go ahead.
He didn't speak after the 49ers game where he dropped passes.
Right.
So he didn't face his fan base that was pissed off after that game, not at him in particular, but just at the team. But the leaders of that team spoke up after that game about the disappointment and held themselves accountable. He did not. He still has not. But he has no problem getting on other platforms and talking. And when he's with these guys, I don't mind you going on podcasts. You're in a fraternity. You're around these guys. But there's a little bit of, I'm happy here. I ain't happy there. How can you not see that? How can you not see that?
215-592-9494. Do you think it's over?
Laughing,
The Eagles,
He's laughing and trolling us. Like he's happy in that setting, but here he's unhappy and won't speak here.
Well, think about this, right? I'm not bringing up Bryce to troll Jack. Just Bryce was a Yankee fan or whatever. What if Bryce Harper went on a podcast with Derek Jeter and Andy Pettit, and the whole time he talked about, did not mention the Phillies one time, didn't mention a teammate one time, talked about how much he loves the Yankees, joked about being on the Yankees.
Yeah.
How would that sound?
It would not sit well with us here, and we know it.
It would sound crazy.
Yes.
Or if Jalen Hurts did the same thing with the Texans, or
Yes.
it would sound insane. If Joel Embiid went on a podcast, there were always the rumors about the Knicks, right?
Right, yep.
What if Joel Embiid went on a podcast with Patrick Ewing and John Starks and talked about how much he loved the Knicks and joked about being a Knick and didn't mention the Sixers at any point?
Yeah.
It would sound crazy. And you know what? I don't begrudge begrudge him. If he wants to go, it is his right to try to get himself out of here, but to not talk about the team that you're on for 40-plus minutes the week of the Super Bowl, which you just won the week before. And you had said this a bunch of times, that you would be ready to move on if he seemed like he was ready to move on.
Yes, and I'll reiterate that. And his actions show more that he'd be open to that idea versus I'm looking forward to getting back to work with the fellas. Let's go try to win another championship. Like, if you're saying those things and doing those things and professing that on these social media platforms, then I don't think we as a fan base or even as media have room to misinterpret anything that's going on. But that's not what you're getting. And he's not trolling the media. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. He's not trolling us. What he's doing is giving us fodder and content to discuss, which may be what he wants also. So it sends mixed messaging to the fan base. And I can't imagine. Listen, the Eagles, they hold the cards as to whether or not he's here or he's not here.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
But I'm just saying, this, when you're of the status of A.J. Brown on this team, you're a face of the franchise. You're an ambassador of the team. So when you aren't promoting the Eagles and the team and your teammates, you send mixed messages. Just does. Now, fans, you can choose to ignore it and say it's nothing, but don't say it didn't get discussed when all the signs were there. The signs are there that he's not happy, and he certainly would be okay if he wasn't here.
And the thing that I keep feeling is that
the signs are there.
We are so desensitized by how crazy that's been for a couple years now that I can already hear somebody saying, "Oh, you're making too much of this." But all I ask you to do is to put another one of our stars in the same situation and think about how crazy it sounds. And we've gone through the AJ thing so much, it's just like, oh, it's another thing. I don't even think about it. But on its own, it's crazy to not talk about the Eagles.
And this is an outrage over this, or this is us discussing it.
Right. It's just, this
is us discussing the idea and the possibility or probability that he's moving on. Guess what? It's being discussed on national talk shows every morning about AJ in a trade or whatnot. So it's being discussed. And that means it's being discussed behind the scenes as well. And what I'm saying is that AJ could go a long way to pour water on that if he wanted to. This doesn't help that.
Yeah, the first question, what's your takeaway from this here? Look, I'm an Eagle. We were here a year ago. We didn't do enough to get back here.
Yeah.
It's just like,
we're trying to get back to this Super Bowl. We're trying to get back here.
Yeah.
Win another championship.
But he didn't.
He didn't enjoy the first championship.
No, right. That's a good point. we do have a next question today. 215-592-9494. Are you finally there? It's over, right, with AJ. We do have a prize for next question today.
Yeah, I'm about there. Yeah, we're about there.
I couldn't believe it. Every 10 minutes I would text Jack. I was like, still hasn't mentioned the Eagles. Still hasn't mentioned the Eagles. Still hasn't mentioned the Eagles. It's crazy.